All right, praise y'all. I think everything's good. We're gonna see. Yep, we're gonna see. All right, Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Let's see if you can even hear me okay. I think you guys can hear me okay, but I'm gonna try something else. Test, test. All right. All right, all right. Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom. Can you guys hear me okay? Just doing a quick test. I'm sure there's a delay, so I'll wait. All right, awesome. Appreciate. I pray everybody has been having a blessed day. Some challenges getting set up, but I think we're good to go. So give me 1 second here. We are live streaming on Twitter, on YouTube, and HebrewConnect TV. Go ahead and let everyone know that we are here live. And we're going to continue on. I'll pray us in and we're going to continue on. Very, very briefly here. All right, a lot to cover today, and not a lot of time, but we're going to go ahead and get into some things. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and get my screen set up. And we'll be good to go. Oh, praise to the Most High Yah. I'm going to do a very, very minor recap, and then we'll go ahead and get started. So, good. That looks good. I'm not sure how it's going to look, but we're going to find out. All right, so very first thing I'm going to pray us in, and then we'll jump right in, all right? So, Abba Yah, thank you for this time that my brothers and my sisters and I have this opportunity to fellowship and come before your throne of grace, mercy, and judgment. We thank you for the breath of life and these precious moments that we have together. We honor and praise your name and glory in all that you've done in and through our lives. Even though we are going through very trying times, we put our trust and faith in you. Now, right now, I want to lift up every household represented here today that's watching me live and will watch me in the future. May your hand of shalom, peace, and blessings be upon them, their household, and their children. And may you continually bless all that they steward over and keep them safe from all harm and all danger. May every footstep they make be a footstep of shalom and peace and covering under your eyes. Again, Abba Yah, we bless your name, and we seek you this day in an even greater way. Guide us and lead us, strengthen our hand and our resolve to accomplish all you have set forth for us to do. We just put our trust and faith in you. And I also, Abba Yah, pray that this lesson that's going forth today is going to be edifying and encouraging, and also provide some clarity in regards to the scriptures and how we need to draw closer and nearer to you and your son, our King, Yahushua HaMashiach. We do thank you for all these things, and I pray in your name, in the name of your Son, Yahushua HaMashiach. Amen. 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 All right. I will be taking some of your questions later on. I'll attempt to, at least. All right. I'm going to go ahead and jump right into our PowerPoint. Last week, we tried to progress a little bit further in regards to the New Testament and dealing with the Apostle Paul and the contention of the faith. The key thing, again, is dealing with the fact that there was a contention of the faith. There was a battle that took place between the apostles. And the reality is this. This is what the reality is. To this day, we don't know nothing. What you do know is your relationship with the Most High, or your lack thereof. Okay? We are Israel. The awakening is real. And we've been called out of darkness. And we've been called to have a heart of repentance and acknowledging our sin and the sin of our ancestors, our forefathers and foremothers. Okay? And, this stuff that we read about and we hear about in the stories that we have been told have happened 2,000 plus years ago. And even that, we don't even know for sure. We can just kind of guesstimate, and that's what we think. We honestly don't concretely know anything. And so all that should do is drive you to want to seek the Most High for yourself in a greater way. There is historical fact and truth, and then there's the legends. All right. When we're all dead and gone, and someone goes to look up the life of Maury Dwayne Harris, right? There's going to be some things that they can say, okay, factually, this is what it is. This is what happened. And then there's going to be some stuff that's going to be legendary, right? The same thing is what took place with our forefathers and foremothers, all right? When it came to really all of the apostles, whether you're talking about the disciples of Mashiach or you're talking about the Apostle Paul, they had a very apocalyptic view of life and where they were at in time. That's the reason why we can look at the New Testament today and it speaks to us the way it does. And we're looking around and we're seeing some of the same things that they were dealing with and talking about in the scriptures. We're seeing them to this very day. And so it's very easy to kind of disconnect is really what we've done, especially in church, because to keep it 100, what's ended up happening is the religious leaders, they've all created their own organizations and religious system, right? The Catholic Church, for instance, which is the largest worldwide Christian church or assembly, they basically threw away the Old Testament. They threw away Israel. They became basically a replacement for Israel. The Pope has become a replacement for Yahushua HaMashiach, or Jesus Christ. They're not looking for him. They're not looking for God. They're not looking for Jesus Christ. They're not looking for them. That's why they got idols and images and statues and stuff like that. They're not looking for them. They don't care. They've used the past. They've used our history, our heritage, and culture to essentially create a new stronghold, is what's in my heart. They've created a stronghold over the earth, a perversion, so to speak. So instead of the righteous house of Israel leading and guiding and being set apart, the Catholic Church, from the Pope down to the cardinals and bishops and all the ministers and fathers, right? And then you got the nuns. All them folks have basically created a new world system off the backs of the house of Israel, right? When you look at what the Apostle Paul was going through, the Apostle Paul threw everything away. That guy was smart, and he knew the scriptures like something like nobody's business. But the reality is that he had some type of encounter with Yahushua HaMashiach. What that exactly was, we don't know. He had something, though. There's no doubt. But in the encounters he had, he condensed everything down and thought it was like that. Like, hey, we got a week, we got a month, we got a year, we got 2 years, it's over with. So that's the reason why the reality was he threw the scriptures away. He knew the scriptures, but he justified throwing away a lot of the Old Testament law, statutes, and commandments. In particular, he was, I don't know what was wrong with him, why he was so against circumcision, because the covenant of Abraham in regards to circumcision, that's the core covenant that makes you a part of the bloodline of Abram. All of Abram's descendants are under that covenant, the Abrahamic covenant. So I don't particularly know why Paul was so anti-circumcision, but he definitely was. And then he kind of threw everything away, and it was just a grace-only doctrine, right? Essentially, because he didn't know the man Jesus or Yahusha, he only had an encounter with the resurrected and risen Christ or Mashiach. Now we have a situation where he's like, well, Christ or Mashiach fulfilled the law. The law is done away with. The law is bondage. Now he's talking about the Torah of Christ or the Torah of Mashiach. You got to understand what he's doing. He's basically looking at it from the standpoint of, well, listen, circumcision is pointless, Mashiach. The Sabbath is pointless. It's a shadow of things to come, Mashiach, right? Eating food sacrificed to idols, those idols don't mean nothing. They're not real, Mashiach. That's what Paul was doing. And not all of us understand what was happening. Paul had some profound statements, some profound sayings and words and understanding, yet at the same time, because he literally viewed it as the kingdom of Mashiach was coming any moment now, right? The current age is currently passing away. Not like it's going to 2,000 years later or something. We all dead. Like, honestly, let's be real. Feel me. Would you really care or do much of anything if you knew that you're going to be dead, your children going to be dead, your wife or your husband's going to be dead, everybody currently alive is going to be dead, and it's going to be like 2,000 more years later when something pop off? You're going to be like, what's the point? I'm going to live my life and die. They were in the moment of their lives, and everything that we see and we're dealing with, they were looking at it from a very present perspective. Even when it comes to the book of Revelations, the majority of that stuff was past, present, and future. So that one it's a whole lot going on with the book of Revelations. But even there, a lot of the stuff that's in the book of Revelations has already taken place already. We just don't know. We forgot. It's been hidden, right? There's been things that have taken place that we have no record of. We have no recollection of. And so that's something to understand. You know what I mean? Understand that for both the... okay, I'll give you a case in point. For the disciples, right? Mashiach said something and said something along the lines of, I'm going to have to go pull scripture up exactly until we get it right. But in a little while, you won't see me, but in a little while, you will. You know what I'm talking about? I think it's the book of John, chapter 18, 19-ish. I'll go pull it up. But he basically said, in a little while, you won't see me. In a little while, you will. And then your joy will be restored and all kind of stuff, right? We look at that, and I'm going to have to pull it up. We look at that in our modern day Christianity. We look at that in our modern day world because we're hanging on the hope, right? We're hanging on the hope. We read that and go, oh, yes. In a little while, we won't see him. In a little while, we will. And then our joy will be restored and we'll be happy. And we want to apply that to us. And that literally took place during their lifetime. What took place? He died. They were sad. They scattered throughout to their homeland. Sad, right? Fearful. And then they saw him again within a few weeks. And their joy was brought forth and was restored. We look at that like it's going to apply to us in 2023. Not all of us, but some of us do. Do y'all understand what I'm saying in the chat? I'm going to go ahead and see if I can pull it up real quick. Y'all let me know if y'all understand what I'm talking about. On a computer? That ain't it. All right, let's see if I can get this right. Man, this thing's acting funny style. Yep. All right, it's John. I was wrong, man. See, even the mark could be wrong. It wasn't 17, 18. It was 16. I don't know how I've missed that. Let's go to why is it so small? I'm getting old, y'all. My eyesight. That or this browser's acting funny. All right. Hopefully you guys can see this. All right. I'm gonna have to just trust that you guys are seeing this. So, John chapter 16, 16. Yahusha went on to say, in a little while you will see me no more, and then after a little while you will see me. Verse 17, at this, some of the disciples said to one another, what does he mean by saying, in a little while you will see me no more, and then after a little while you will see me, and because I am going to the Father? They kept asking, what does he mean by a little while? We don't understand what he's saying. Yahusha saw that they wanted to ask him about this, so he said to them, are you asking one another what I meant when I said, in a little while you will see me no more, and then after a little while you will see me? Very truly I tell you, you will weep and mourn while the world rejoices. You will grieve, but your grief will turn into joy. A woman giving birth to a child has pain because her time has come, but when her baby is born, she forgets the anguish because of her joy that a child is born into the world. So with you, now is your time of grief, but I will see you again, and you will rejoice, and no one will take away your joy. In that day, you will no longer ask me anything. Very truly, I tell you, my Father will give you whatever you ask in my name. All right, I'm going to stop right there. Let's see if I can get this to work. All right. Can you see me right now? And if you can see me, does that make sense? Do you understand what I just went through, what I went over? A little more than a few days later, but yes. Brother Charles, be on it. All right. So, being honest with yourself. How many of you, especially when you're walking in Christianity, how many of you in your mind, in your own understanding, perceive that as, oh, that's going to come in the end days, in the second coming of Mashiach, or the second coming of Christ? How many of y'all believe that? How many of y'all were, because I did, I'll be the one to raise my hand up. How many of y'all, if you be honest with yourself, you kind of had that perspective, like, yes, my tears will be wiped away and I'll be happy and the world can't take my joy away, right? How many of y'all thought that was talking about the end times and like the second coming of Mashiach? Like I said, I did. We'll keep going. So, I want to kind of frame this, because if you look at the journey we've gone through, and everything truly is coming to a close, which is good because I'm tired. I know you're tired too. It's a situation where we have to really understand this. Number one, the scriptures are true and real. For real, for real. We are living testament and proof. What took place was because of the transgressions of King David, because of the transgressions of King Solomon, we had the split between the northern kingdom and the southern kingdom. Israel already got it tough because we stiff-necked people, but then it got foolish, right? So Rehoboam was tripping, right? And listen to who? The young man was acting crazy. He was acting crazy. And then the northern kingdom was like, what have we to do with David? Kick rocks. We out. Israel, roll out. You do you, and we're going to do us. And there was a great separation. So now you have a split, which is tragic, but it was a judgment because we was tripping. Lust is a beast. Get that thing under control. Because of the lust of King David, we got a King Solomon, or Prince Solomon that became a king. Because of the lust of King Solomon, we had to split with the northern kingdom and the southern kingdom. And then you have a split between those two kingdoms. You got the northern kingdom falling into extreme idolatry to the point where the Most High basically divorces them and they are no longer a people. And that's the reason why we went through the scriptures we went through, right? We went through all the scriptures that talked about how the northern kingdom was divorced and how they were no longer a people, how they were no longer going to be pitied, right? And so, but the prophecy also was that the people that was not a people shall be called my people. The people who were not pitied shall be called pitied, right? There was going to be a role reversal, and that's what took place when you have Mashiach. We had that whole breakdown that Mashiach came to reconcile the northern kingdom and the southern kingdom together. That's the reason why during his ministry, he told the disciples, first and foremost, I'm only sent to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. Then during his life, he was only going to Judah. He wasn't dealing with the northern kingdom yet. And he wasn't dealing with no heathens or no Gentiles. He was, my job is to deal with the house of Israel, specifically Judah at this point in time. But after his sacrifice, and it was a sacrifice, after his sacrifice, he was able to bring reconciliation between the northern kingdom and the southern kingdom. So from there, we've gone through in our previous lessons to show that, yes, the Spirit of Yah was now poured out amongst the house of Israel. There was a restoration. And so we know and recognize, and I went through the process with you, that both the 12 apostles of Mashiach and Paul the apostle were all going out and ministering to both Yehuda and the northern kingdom Israelites that were scattered among the nations, among the Gentiles. I really need to reinforce that with you all, because don't look at the perversion of what happened to Paul's doctrines and his writings and his teachings and look at it like that was his original intent. His original intent was, it's all rap anyway. Do you understand? His whole thing was, any day, any moment now, it's over with. In the very present age, is passing away, and the new kingdom is on its way. That's where Paul's mindset was. Paul was going to both Yehuda and northern kingdom. What happened in the scriptures with the Apostle Paul? Because he was tripping. He did what? Where did he go that he was not supposed to go to? Put it in the chat. What area did he go to that he was not supposed to go to? Starts with an A. Where did he go that he was not supposed to go? We read in the scriptures that he was forbidden to go to this area. And he went anyway. And he caught all kinds of hell. What then did he say in response to all the hell he caught in Asia and other parts of the world in dealing with his people? He said, and we might go there, he said, forget y'all. Within himself, not by the apostles of Mashiach, not thus saith Yah, himself and his feelings, because he got rejected, he went and was like, all right, fine then. I'm only going to go to who? The Gentiles. And that's what happened. He only went to the Gentiles. That's it. So he's like, I'm only going to the Gentiles. I understand it didn't say Gentiles back then. It said Hellenes. He was talking about, I'm only going to the northern kingdom Israelites that are scattered amongst the nations or the Gentiles. But because the way the language is worded, and because you got translators that want to insert themselves into our covenant that was recently restored, bringing back an order to both the northern kingdom and the southern kingdom, now you got, because of the language of Paul's writings, and he got in his feelings and was like, forget Judah. Why do you think all of a sudden he became like basically anti-Yehudi? Because his message was rejected by Yehuda. He was like, forget y'all. I'm going to the uncircumcised. And then his doctrine shifted, and this leads to the polarity between the apostles of Mashiach, led by the brother James, and Apostle Paul doing his own thing. We then went through and talked about and discussed how the reason why we even have a Bible, a New Testament today, is because of the writings of Paul partially. The writings of Paul were the earliest New Testament Christian, if you want to call it that, writings. I attribute Christianity to Paul, so I have no problem saying the first earliest New Testament Christian writings were the letters or epistles of Paul. Then you had influences from him on the Gospel of Luke. All right. Separate from the Pauline side of things, you have a document that we don't know where it's at. It's probably a Hebrew root because both Matthew and Mark they're pulling, both Matthew and the Gospel of Matthew and Mark are pulling from another document we don't know about right now. But they're pulling from the same source document. It exists somewhere. We don't know where it's at. Probably the Vatican somewhere. But Matthew and Mark are pulling from an older Hebrew document. Mark pulled from it first. Matthew pulled from it second. So it goes essentially Mark, Matthew, Luke, John is how it goes. And so from that point, again, we have Paul to credit in regards to having the first kind of root of a New Testament canon of Scripture. All right. So from that point on, right, we also broke down the fact that there is a historical Paul that you can find in his writings, his epistles, and then there's a legendary Paul that you see in the book of Acts. The book of Acts is historical, non-fictional narrative. It's historical. It's non-fiction, meaning it's based off truth and reality, but it's still a story-based narrative, right? It's not a first-hand account. The letters of Paul were written in his name by himself, or at least transcribed, right, from his own words. The book of Acts, which really, if you be 100 with it, is the Acts of Paul the Apostle, because you only kind of get glimpses of the truth of what was going on in maybe the first 8 chapters. And after that, it's all pretty much about the adventures of Paul. You don't hear about the adventures of Peter, right? You have chapters 1 through 8, which deals with the early church, so to speak. And then you have chapter 17, 15, 16, 17, that deals with still Paul, but you're still dealing with Jerusalem, right? And then you're dealing with, let's see, 21, still dealing with Paul, but it's Paul dealing with the Jerusalem set. Jerusalem set being James. I think a lot of truth is in the book of Acts that either was not supposed to be in there or was put in there to address known issues that people had at the time. The other thing that we talked about during this whole process of lessons that we've been going through is that Paul had multiple names. Paul's name to the Greeks and the Romans in that world, the Greco-Roman world, was Paul. His name in the Hebrew was Simon. And I can come to that conclusion. I may be wrong, because I could be wrong. We don't know nothing. We just kind of look at what we're dealing with here. Okay, hindsight, that was Simon. That was Simon. And I'm gonna actually show you today some things to kind of break down some things that make you go, yeah, he was Simon. To the Hebrew Israelite of Yehuda, Paul the Apostle was known as Simon. And in fact, there's an interesting narrative that took place where Paul in the book of Acts is having a conversation with Felix, the governor, right? He's an Edomite because, you know, when Esau got up in the royal house, he intermarried, had children with the Levitical bloodline, had these mixed kids, and tried to like anchor babies, trying to anchor into the bloodline and the covenant, trying to infiltrate. Didn't work because he was crazy. He even killed his own kids. Right? That's another story if you didn't know about that. So what ended up happening though is that Esau ended up putting his family in positions of power. It's no different than what's happening in Nigeria right now. Nigeria is ruled by Esau Edom in Nigeria. That's the way it's been. The northern Nigeria is primarily run and held by bloodline descendants of Esau Edom through the Fulani and the Hausa, which are a mixture of tribes, but they primarily hail from ancient Assyria. The real Assyrians, the real ancient Assyrians, right? And so no different than today in Nigeria. You got the white man, not trying to be whatever, but the colonizer, that's a nicer word for y'all. You got the colonizer that came in, was doing the most. When they left, who did they put in charge as a proxy? Edom. So here you are all over again. You in Nigeria, you are Yoruba or you are Igbo ancestry or some of the other sub-tribes, and you are ruled by Esau Edom today. And then who is running Esau Edom? The white man, the colonizer. What was happening back during the time of Mashiach when they was all coming up? You had Hebrew Israelites, the people, living in their own land and territory. Who was ruling them in their land and territory? Esau Edom. Who was Esau Edom in collusion with? Rome. Who put Esau Edom in power over Judea? Rome. Who put Esau Edom in Nigeria in power? You can still say Rome, but the colonizer. Hope it makes sense. I hope it makes sense. That's crazy, but it's real talk. Where is the scattered remnant of the house of Israel? All over the earth. Judah scattered all over the earth, voluntarily or not. All right. So hopefully that helps. All right. In the present age, you got our people in the southwest and the southeast. Some of us are in the central area. I don't know how you could live in those contested areas with them Edomites like that. The crimes are unimaginable. The crimes are utterly unimaginable. That being said, on a side note, just to give acknowledgement, there are some Fulani Edomites, and we're related to them. We don't want to talk about that. We're related to them. They're our cousins, right? They are a mixture bloodline wise. When you look at the DNA, they are a mixture of bloodline Edomite, which means their paternal root goes back to Esau for real. Some of them their root goes back to Ishmael because there was a marriage and a union between both Esau, Edom, and Ishmael's daughter, right? And that's the reason why you see them culturally and physically interconnected, even bloodline-wise. You're going to see some Fulani that are going to be from Ishmael, some that are going to be from Edom, because their bloodlines intermixed together. And then you're going to see a mixture of Fulani Edomites that are culturally Fulani, but bloodline, they're Hebrew Israelite. Why? Because we were enslaved. There was a subsection of us that were enslaved to the Fulani. And so no different than we walking around here If I'll go anywhere in the world, whether I want to or not, and I don't, if I go anywhere in the world, whether I want to or not, the world is going to look at me and view me as an American. They might classify it as a Black American, but they're still going to say, you're an American. You look like an American, you talk like an American, your style of clothing is like an American, the way you talk is like an American. Your whole everything, that's the American vibe right there. That's that Black American vibe right there, right? So no different. You're going to have some of us that culturally are Fulani, culturally or Hausa. That's just your culture, but that's not your bloodline. All right. So I just want to throw that out there just for some clarity of mind. Just so you know. All right. But yeah, I want to go through this real quick. Let me go ahead and go deeper into regards to, we talked about the Greco-Roman Paul. We talked about the historical Paul, and we've talked about the legendary Paul to an extent. And then we've been slowly introducing you to the we've been slowly introducing you to the Hebrew Paul, which is Simon Magus. And it's interesting because being 100, let's just be 100, y'all. The book of Acts is essentially a snapshot of the early Christian Hebrew Israelite assemblies. Okay. But the focal root is, it's the narrative of Paul. It's basically Paul. It's the Acts of Paul. The apostles in the beginning, and what Peter and John and James were doing in the beginning, and the whole Pentecost move, like, it's insane. Like, I don't know if they writings got burnt down or they got hauled away somewhere. I don't know what happened to the true Hebrew root of many of the Hebrew writings of the apostles that were sitting up under Yahusha. What happened to them, right? But the bulk majority of what we have as believers in Mashiach comes from Paul. So it's going to be a conflicting feeling when we go through this, because you're going to be like, dang, like, some of your core beliefs as a Messianic Hebrew Israelite or even a Christian come from Paul. That's the reason why Paul is seen as God amongst Christianity. Paul, like, you can go to Matthew and Jesus said this, Yahushua said this, and this. And what is a Christian going to come back with? Paul said, do you understand and see? You go talk to any modern Christian today, and you could try to talk this Messianic Hebrew stuff all you want to, and talk about the law, statutes, and commandments, and the Shabbat, and they're going to come back and be like, but Paul said, because the root core of the faith in their New Testament theology and Christianity is Paul. But then you wake up as a bloodline Hebrew Israelite and you go, nah, something don't make no sense. And then why is his writings confusing? I don't understand. It seems like he's saying one thing here and then another thing here, and I'm just confused. And then, like, the stuff he's saying is not like it's lightweight. It's not like he's alluding to something. He's gangster. He gangster as I am. He gonna say like it is. But then it's like when you got writers that come behind you and try to clean it up. They don't want to take away from what you actually said, but they want to try to insert some things in there to kind of soften the blow. Like, well, that's not what he really meant. And like, no, that's what he meant. So let's get through this. Let's do this. Let me go ahead and pull this up real quick. Let me pull this up. I think it's important to pull this up. Where do I want to go? Go with me to 1 Corinthians chapter 8. That's what I want to do. And I'm going to go there myself. 1 Corinthians chapter 8. Well, nope. All right, pause there. Put a footnote on that one. Put a footnote on that one. Let's go back to Acts chapter 15. All right, so we're going to go to Acts chapter 15, right? Somebody put moderator, somebody put in the chat. We're going to Acts chapter 15, and then we're going to 1 Corinthians chapter 8. All right? Everybody with me? Are we good? Okay, I can't see if we're good or not, but I'm going to keep moving forward for time's sake. All right. Let's go. Let me share my screen. And all right. Hopefully you can see my screen. It goes on and says, we're starting. This is James' judgment. We're at the Jerusalem Council, right? This is the dictates. We went through this already before, but I need to go through this here to then go to 1 Corinthians chapter 8 so you can see what ended up happening, okay? So for Acts 15:13, and after they had held their peace, James answered, saying, Men and brethren, hearken unto me, listen to me. Simeon hath declared how Oluwa at the first did visit the Gentiles to take out of them a people for his name. What's he referring to? He's talking about Abram. He's talking about Israel, but he's talking about Abram. How Oluwa visited the Gentiles, all the nations, and said, You are my people. That's right. I choose you. Right? Verse 15, and to this degree, the words of the prophets as it is written. After this, I will return and will build again the tabernacle of David, which is fallen down, and I will build again the ruins thereof, and I will set up, that the residue of men or remnant of men might seek after Yah, and all the Gentiles upon whom my name is called, saith Yah, who doeth all these things. Known unto Oluwa are all his works from the beginning of the world. Wherefore my sentence is, because he is the leader of the disciples in Jerusalem, that we trouble not them which are among or from among the Gentiles, are turned to Oluwa, but that we write unto them that they do what? Abstain from pollutions of idols. It goes down further and talks about it, abstain from food that's been sacrificed to idols. And from what? Fornication, and from things strangled, and from blood. For Moses of old time hath in every city them that preach him, being read in the synagogues every Sabbath day. There's a whole lot of folks that want to ignore verse 21. They don't want to talk about verse 21. Verse 21 is there because he's declaring these Israelites that were living amongst the Gentiles. This is what my ruling is. Don't be eating no food sacrificed to idols. Don't be sleeping around hoeing, right? Don't eat things that have been strangled, and don't be eating blood that's nasty, right? Aside from that, the Torah is being preached every week in the synagogues on the Sabbath day. So they're going to get what they need in the Torah on the Sabbath day. Most Christians don't want to talk about verse 21. So verse 22, then pleaseth the apostles and elders with the whole assembly to send chosen men of their own company to Antioch with Paul and Barnabas. Remember Antioch, okay? Antioch. All right. So let's go to verse 29 just to reinforce, right? That let's go to verse 28. For it seemed good to the Holy Ghost and to us to lay upon you no greater burden than these necessary things, that you abstain from meats offered to idols, and from blood, and all things strangled, and from fornication, from which if you keep yourselves, you shall do well. Fare you well. Does everybody see that? I just want to make sure everybody sees that. I'm going to give some time, put it in the chat. I need y'all to respond back to me. Do y'all see what this says in verse 29? That ye abstain from meats offered or sacrificed to idols, and from blood, and from things strangled, and from fornication, so on and so forth. All right, so where y'all at? Let's see here. All right, good. Y'all see this? So now go with me to 1 Corinthians chapter 8. 1 Corinthians chapter 8. And I'm going to put this in the NIV. And I'm going to share my screen. All right, hopefully you can see my screen. It goes on to say, now about food. This is almost insane. It's almost insane. Now about food sacrificed to idols. We know that we all possess knowledge, but knowledge puffs up while love builds up. You got to ask yourself, what is he deflecting to? That's a deflection. It may not be like it's not true, but what are you talking about, right? Verse 2, those who think they know something do not yet know as they ought to know. Okay, what you saying, Paul? Verse 3, but whoever loves Oluwa is known by Oluwa. So then about eating food sacrificed to idols, it almost makes my whole soul hurt reading this right now. So then about eating, I'm sorry, it makes me be like, I can't even believe this is in the Bible right now. So then about eating food sacrificed to idols, we know that an idol is nothing at all in the world, and that there is no God but one. There is no Oluwa but one. For even if there are so-called gods, lowercase g, even if there are so-called Elohim, whether in heaven or on earth, as indeed there are many gods and many lords, yet for us there is but one Oluwa, the Father, from whom all things came and for whom we live, and there is but one Adonai, Master, Lord, Yahushua HaMashiach, Jesus Christ, through whom all things came and through whom we live. Paul, what are you trying to tell me? But not everyone possesses this knowledge. Some people are still, I want you to just highlight that part. Verse 7, some people are still so accustomed to idols that when they eat sacrificial food, they think of it as having been sacrificed to a god. And since their conscience is weak, it is defiled. But food does not bring us near to Oluwa. We are no worse if we do not eat, and no better if we do. Fam. What is he talking about? Y'all talk to me in the chat. Y'all sleep? Y'all about as bad as when you were on here live with me. Diane got it. Angel, that's exactly what he's saying. This is very much where he's going from, but it's not maturity. It's foolishness, and it's leaning to your own understanding. It is confusing. Well, here's the thing about it. It should not be confusing. It's just that you ain't read it before, you ain't paying attention. In the book of Acts, the judgment and ruling that came out from the 12 in Jerusalem, where the brother James is the head. Okay, the ruling was do not eat food sacrificed to idols. That's even the original message that Paul delivered to the people. Yet in historical Paul, he threw that out the window. Whether you eat food sacrificed to idols or not, it means nothing. You broke rank, Paul. So I'm bringing this to you, this contention, this conflict, so you can see the polarizing difference. In the book of Acts, you have it espoused that, and this all was about the Galatians missions too, right? So you have the situation where the agreement was, we're not going to put a burden on our people that were living amongst the Gentiles to go ahead and get circumcised, right? And they're not going to eat no food sacrificed to idols, okay? No fornication, no eating meat that's been strangled, that's gross. No eating blood, right? And the Torah is preached every week, so they're good. Paul eventually came to this doctrine where it don't matter. I just my mind I almost want to believe like that's an insert. I almost want to believe that somebody just basically made that up and threw that up in there. All right, so it goes on to say, Angel says, was that First Corinthians message more to the Gentiles since they aren't the priest? So first off, it has nothing to do with being a priest or not a priest, right? Forget any of that stuff. It comes down to James the Just, the leader of the Jerusalem 12, right? He's now the new head of the ministry of Yahusha. He puts down a ruling, a declaration that, hey, very first thing, they cannot be eating food sacrificed to idols. Paul is saying what? It don't matter. He broke the agreement. Ultimately, what I want you to see is that he broke the agreement. This is the reason why you got, the pork chop pastor out right now selling you fried pork chops, for the fundraiser right now. This is why you have Christians that act like the law's been done away with. This is why you have Christians that compromise. They don't mean nothing. Listen, Jesus knows my heart. All you got to do is be a good person. That's it. Just be a good person. So I'm going to show that again because some of y'all are slow. I love y'all, but you are slow. I know it's tough. Let's go back. Verse 4. So then about eating food sacrificed to idols. We know that an idol is nothing at all in the world, and that there is no God but one. For even if there are so-called gods, whether in heaven or on earth, as indeed there are many gods and many lords, yet for us there is but one God, the Father, from whom all things came and for whom we live, and there is but one Lord, Jesus Christ, Yahushua HaMashiach, through whom all things came and through whom we live. But not everyone possesses this knowledge. Some people are still so accustomed to idols that when they eat sacrificial food, they think of it as having been sacrificed to a god. And since their conscience is weak, it is defiled. Have some understanding of mind. He's not talking about heathen that are out here just eating food sacrificed to idols and their conscience is weak and it's defiled. He's talking about fellow believers. These are Christians. These are followers of Mashiach. He's saying that there are still some people so accustomed to idols that when they eat sacrificial food, why in the hell are you eating sacrificial food? Answer that question. As an Israelite and as a follower of Mashiach, you should not be eating no sacrificial food. Why? Number one, that was the ruling that James put out. Don't eat no sacrificial food. But here it's going on to say, verse 8, but food does not bring us near to Oluwa. We are no worse if we do not eat, or no better if we do. All right, let's keep going. Because some of y'all are slow. Be careful, however, that the exercise of your rights. Hello? For the slow in the back. Be careful, however, that the exercise of your rights does not become a stumbling block to the weak. For if someone with a weak conscience sees you doing what? I'm sad. Especially those of y'all that are slow. I know it's hard I know it's hard. You don't want to believe your own eyes and what's in your own book. For if someone with a weak conscience sees you with all your head knowledge eating in an idol's temple. For if someone with a weak conscience sees you with all your knowledge eating in an idol's temple, won't that person be emboldened to eat what is sacrificed to idols? So this weak brother or sister for whom Christ or Mashiach died is destroyed by your knowledge. When you sin against them in this way and wound their weak conscience, you sin against Mashiach. Therefore, if what I eat causes my brother or sister to fall into sin, I will never eat meat again, so that I will not cause them to fall. Do y'all understand? Do y'all understand? The core, well, whatever level of your understanding right now, the core issue is this. The judgment and ruling that the Jerusalem 12, led by James the Just, the brother of Mashiach, was that our Northern Kingdom brothers and sisters that are living amongst the Gentiles that have been called out and they've awoken to who they are, they've awoken and they've accepted Mashiach as the redemptive savior and all those things, right? They got the baptism and all that. How are they supposed to live? Don't eat no food sacrificed to idols. Don't be out here hoeing and fornicating. Don't be out here eating food that was strangled, and don't be eating food that still got the blood in it. And yet here we have Paul addressing to the Corinthian church, essentially saying, whether you eat it or don't, it doesn't matter. But if you over there smacking on some pork ribs, okay, after the Shabbat fellowship, cause your brother or sister to stumble, and now you get what I'm saying? He's leaning to his own understanding. I gotta move on because some of y'all slow, some of y'all get it, some of y'all don't, some of y'all will. The issue is that he broke the agreement. Why are you even talking or even opening the door possibility that there's freedom to eat whatever you want to eat? That's why some of your pastors act the way they act. That's why they act like the law's been done away with. And here we are 2,000 something years later dealing with these issues. Paul is dead as hell. All them folks, the Corinthian church, the Galatians church, the Ephesian church is dead. And here we are 2,000 years later, and based off of what Paul was doing and how he led astray and literally went off script, he broke covenant with the disciples and started doing his own thing. First off, he was like, no, we're not doing a circumcision. Then it was, don't get tripped about, the Shabbat day and the feast days, and don't get cut up on food, sacrificed to idols. I'm going to go down to the temple of Isis. I heard they got some smacking pork ribs down there. I'm going to go ahead and hit that up real quick and give me a plate. You want some? Because there's freedom. We can eat whatever we want to eat. But if you with someone who's of weak conscience, then you don't want to bring them out there. Don't have them showing don't be eating your plate of pork ribs from the Isis temple. That's smacking. Don't eat that around them. That's gonna mess them up. But you are free in Christ to eat whatever you want to eat. You are free in Christ that the Shabbat don't matter no more. You are free in Christ that these different Moedim don't really matter if you do them or you don't do them. It's all getting burnt up anyway. Leaning to your own understanding. I got to move on. I can't struggle with y'all. Y'all hit me up in the emails or something like that if you got something to say. All right. We talked about, again, briefly about how Paul's Hebrew name and the people knew him as Simon. There was an incident that took place where you see an interaction with Paul with Felix and his wife. And then also external to the Bible, in the book or the writings of Josephus, there is a Simon, the magician, whom the Hebrews knew him as. There is Simon who was friends with Felix. I can't even go to it as deep as I want to because I got to get more into the contention between Simon Peter and Simon the magician, otherwise aka known as Paul. And there's a variant of truth in the midst of all that. So let's go. Y'all wrestle with what I broke down on your own time. I'm going to go. Yep. Go me the book of Acts. We're going to go to Acts 23 and 24. This is after, because Paul was supposed to go to Asia. Them Hebrews in Asia was like, we about to kill this fool. And that's when Paul was like, drug off and led away, right? And now he's under Roman protection and arrest. Keep it simple. So verse 23, so I got to get down to 24, but verse 23, it goes on and says, and he called unto him 2 centurions, saying, make ready 200 soldiers to go to Caesarea, and horsemen 70, and spearmen 200 at the 3rd hour of the night, and provide them beasts, that they may set Paul on and bring him safe unto Felix the governor. And he wrote a letter after this manner: Claudius Lysias, unto the most excellent governor Felix, sendeth greeting. This man was taken of the Yahudim, and should have been killed of them. Then came I with an army and rescued him, having understood that he was a Roman. So remember, I had a hard time the first time. I was like, man, he didn't call on Yah, he called on the Romans. He didn't cry out to Yahusha or the Father. He cried out to Caesar. So when he got that heat from them Asian Yahudim that was living in Asia, he said, I appeal to Caesar. I'm a Roman. Get me up out of here. Right? It goes on to say, verse 28, and when I would have known the cause wherefore they accused him, I brought him forth into their council, whom I perceived to be accused of questions of their law, but to have nothing laid to his charge worthy of death or of bonds. These weren't just Yahudim. Y'all, listen, I gotta look at your face. And y'all even look your face on this. Hold on a second. He did not piss off just some random Yahudim. He pissed off followers of Mashiach. Go back to verse 20 or chapter 21 when this whole thing popped off. What was the charge against Paul? Paul, the charge and the word on the street is that you out here in these Hebrew streets telling the Yahudim not to circumcise their children. You out here lawless, Paul. So this is what you're going to do, because that can't be true, Paul. You notice in the book of Acts in chapter 21, he does not refute the charges against him. It's very silent about that situation. So he goes and perform the religious ritual and tasks. And who comes out against him? The Yahudim from Asia. Men and brethren, this is the man that's going around speaking against. Before that time, you had James saying, look at the people. Thousands of Yahudim that love Mashiach. They are following the way of Mashiach, and they're also pious for the law. They're zealous for the Torah. That already lets you know that there was a contention between their belief system, where Paul's like, forget the Torah. It's all wrapped anyway. Mashiach came on the scene, and it's over with. It's only a matter of time before we get out of here. The law's been done away with. The Shabbat's done away with. The feast days done away with. All these rules and regulations and jumping through all these hoops is done away with. We are free in Mashiach. Leave off the bondage of Torah, the Torah of Moses, and pick up the freedom that's the Torah of Christ, the law of Christ. Go look at the law of Christ. So these were not just random Jewish people, Yehudi. These were followers of Mashiach that wanted to kill Paul. These weren't just like the Sanhedrin or something like that. These weren't like Pharisees from like his ex-homies that were like, oh, don't read Paul, we're about to come get you. These were followers of the way. Do y'all get that revelation? Let's keep going. And when it was told me how the Yahudim laid wait for the man. That's the thing we don't understand. These were Hebrews that were following after Mashiach, laid in wait to kill this man. Y'all don't understand. Y'all ain't ready for me in these teachings right now. Y'all ain't ready. Y'all ain't ready. I can feel it. And when it was told me how the Yahudim laid wait for the man, I sent straightway to thee and gave commandment to his accusers also to say before thee what they had against him. Farewell. Then the soldiers, as it was commanded them, took Paul and brought him by night to Antipatris. On the morrow, the next day, they left the horsemen to go with him and returned to the castle, who, when they came to Caesarea and delivered the letter or the epistle to the governor, presented Paul also before him. And when the governor had read the letter, he asked of what province he was. And when he understood that he was of Cilicia, I will hear thee, said he, when thine accusers are also come. And he commanded him to be kept in Herod's judgment hall. Let's keep going. Verse 1 of 21, chapter 21. And after 5 days, Ananias the high priest descended with the elders and with certain orator named Tertullius, who informed the governor against Paul. And when he was called forth, Tertullius began to accuse him, saying, seeing that by thee we enjoy great quietness, and that very worthy deeds are done unto this nation by the providence, we accept it always and in all places, most noble Felix, and with all thankfulness. Notwithstanding that I be not further tedious unto thee, I pray thee that thou would hearest us of thy clemency a few words. For we have found this man a pestilent fellow, and a mover of sedition among all the Yahudim throughout the world, and a ringleader of the sect of the Nazarenes, who also hath gone about to profane the temple, whom we took, and we would have judged according to our law. But the chief captain Lysias came upon us, and with great violence took him away out of our hands. You know you got to be on some other level stuff when you done messed up. You done upset the Sanhedrin and the Nazarenes. Everybody's coming for you. Verse 8, commanding his accusers to come unto thee, by examining of whom thyself might take knowledge of all these things whereof we accuse him. And the Yahudim also assented, saying that these things were so. Then Paul, after the governor had beckoned unto him to speak, answered, for as much as I know that thou hast been of many years a judge unto this nation, I do the more cheerfully answer for myself, because thou hast made understand, because that thou mayest understand that there are yet but 12 days since I went up to Jerusalem for to worship, and they neither found me in the temple disputing with any man, neither raising up the people, neither in the synagogues nor in the city. Neither can they prove the things whereof they now accuse me. They can't prove it. But this I confess unto thee, that after the way which they call heresy, so worship I the God of my fathers, believing all things which are written in the law and in the prophets, and have hope towards Oluwa, or God, which they themselves also allow, that there shall be a resurrection of the dead, both of the just and the unjust. And herein do I exercise myself, to have always a conscience void of offense towards Oluwa and towards men. Now after many years I came to bring alms to my nation and offerings, whereupon certain Yahudim from Asia found me purified in the temple, neither with multitude nor with tumult, who ought to have been here before thee and object, if they had aught against me. Or else let these same here say, if they have found any evil doing in me while I stand before the council. Except it be for this one voice that I cried standing among them, touching the resurrection of the dead, I am called and questioned by you this day. I don't know, man. Let's just put a highlighter on this, okay? Let's put a highlighter on this, and I'm explaining what I mean by that, okay? All right. So, and when Felix heard these things, having more perfect knowledge of that way, he deferred them and said, when Lysias the chief captain shall come down, I will know the utmost of your matter. And he commanded a centurion to keep Paul and to let him have freedom, and that he should forbid none of his acquaintances to minister or come unto him. Okay. And after certain days, when Felix came with his wife Drusilla, which was a Jewess, he sent for Paul and heard him concerning the faith in Christ. And as he reasoned of righteousness, temperance, and judgment to come, Felix trembled and answered, go thy way for this time. When I have a convenient season, I will call for thee. All right, so I'm all about context. I wanted to put that all up in there, right? All right, I wanted to put that all up in there. So, are y'all tracking? We want to investigate this further, but it sounds like Paul lying. Because he's basically throwing it out there that the reason why it doesn't even make any sense. Because if Ananias is the high priest, and whether we're dealing with, the Pharisee or the Sadducees or whatever the case might be, right? It's like, why is Paul throwing it out there that the reason why I'm standing here before you this day is because I believe in the resurrection. That's why I stand before you this day. It's like, and then he also said, why are these people here? Why are these people here and not the people who were originally angry with me? Bring them up and ask them, but they're not here. So what you kind of have was, it's a situation where the followers of the way are like, let's go back and see it. Let's go back and see it because some of y'all need to see it. Some of y'all need to see it. Don't lose track of that last part I talked about with Felix and his wife Drusilla and him wanting to talk to Paul and all this type of stuff. In the chat, let me know if you guys are understanding what's going on, if this is making sense to y'all. Let's start in verse 15. Paul at Jerusalem. After those days, we took up our carriages and went up to them. I'm going to put this in the New Living. After this, we packed our things and left for Jerusalem. Some believers from Caesarea accompanied us, and they took us to the home of Mnason, a man originally from Cyprus and one of the early believers. When we arrived, the brothers and sisters in Jerusalem welcomed us warmly. The next day, Paul went with us to meet with James, and all the elders of the Jerusalem church or assembly were present. Do y'all see that? Paul's going to meet with James. After greeting them, Paul gave a detailed account of the things God had accomplished among the Gentiles through his ministry. After hearing this, they praised Oluwa, and then they said, "You know, dear brother, how many thousands of Yahudim have also believed, and they all follow the law of Moses very closely." Hopefully y'all see that. Let's put that in the NIV. Verse 19, Paul greeted them and reported in detail what Oluwa had done among the Gentiles through his ministry. Verse 20, when they heard this, they praised Oluwa. Then they said to Paul, "You see, brother, how many thousands of Yahudim have believed, and all of them are zealous for the law?" Let's go back. We're going 21. And they are informed of thee that thou teachest all the Yahudim which are among the Gentiles to forsake Moses, saying that they ought not to circumcise their children, neither to walk after the customs. Let's go to the NLT. But the Jewish believers here in Jerusalem have been told that you are teaching all the Jews who live among the Gentiles to turn their backs on the laws of Moses. They've heard that you teach them not to circumcise their children or follow other Jewish customs. Let's go to the NIV. They have been informed that you teach all Jews, Yahudim, who live among the Gentiles to turn away from Moses, telling them not to circumcise their children or live according to our customs. Verse 22 goes on to say, "What shall we do?" they will certainly hear that you have come. So do what we tell you. There are 4 men with us who have made a vow. Take these men, join in their purification rites, and you pay their expenses so that they can have their heads shaved. Get them a haircut. Then everyone will know there is no truth in these reports about you, but that you yourself are living in obedience to the law. As for the Gentile believers, we have written to them our decision that they should abstain from food sacrificed to idols, from blood, and from the meat of strangled animals, and from sexual immorality. Do y'all see this? Next day, Paul took the men, purified himself along with them. Then he went to the temple to give notice of the date when the days of purification would end, and the offering will be made for each of them. Paul is arrested. When the 7 days were nearly over, some Yahudim, where were these Yahudim from? Put it in the chat. Place he shouldn't have been. When the 7 days were nearly over, some Yahudim from the province of Asia saw Paul at the temple. They stirred up the people, the whole crowd, and seized him, shouting, "Fellow Israelites, help us. This is the man who teaches everyone everywhere against our people," that's true, "and our law and this place. And besides, he has brought Greeks into the temple and defiled this holy place." That likely was not true. That wasn't true. But what is true is this. This is a man who teaches everyone, everywhere, against our people and our law and this place. It goes on to say, they had previously seen Trophimus the Ephesian in the city with Paul and assumed that Paul had brought him into the temple. The whole city was aroused, and the people came running from all directions. Seizing Paul, they dragged him from the temple, and immediately the gates were shut. Does all this make sense? Does all this make sense? Is it coming together for y'all to see? I love much of Paul's writings, and I'm not anti-Paul, but I'm going to be real about how he was moving, the things he did. Okay? Because first off, when he got in this situation, he didn't cry out to Yah. He didn't go, "Oh, I see the heavens open and, Yahushua on the right hand of the Father." He didn't do a whole Stephen move. He didn't cry out to Yah. He didn't even cry out to Yahushua. He appealed to Caesar. "I'm a Roman, homie." He took that Hebrew jank off real quick. He said, "I'm a Roman. Get me up out of here. I'm a Roman citizen." Bet. We gotta own that. We gotta look at that. He did not cry out to James to come save him. He didn't cry out to Peter to come save him. John, he ain't cry out to Yahushua. He didn't go down in prayer and do like a prayer move and be like, "Oh, Almighty Yah." No, he appealed to Caesar. And then when he's before the Roman governor and he's describing the situation, because he got it started off with the bruise. Okay? It started off with the bruise, right? You was messing going around the place you shouldn't have went to, right? And then Yahudim in Asia were like, "Who this dude? You over here telling us to do what? We don't need to observe the law, statutes, and commandments. Oh, you crazy. You out here preaching this stuff?" So when they all came and they saw him, "Men of Israel," this is the one right here. If he would have been obedient and not taken stuff over there, maybe he'll be all right and we'll have a different outcome. So, but then he lies and basically says that it was because of the resurrection. He pulled, investigate. Let's all put a check mark on that and say we need to investigate that storytelling. Okay. Let's go ahead. So hopefully y'all understand more in context of what was going on. So I brought that out there, right? Now I want to go to Josephus. And this is very, very interesting. So I'm going to go starting off here. This is book 20. Write this down. Somebody put this in the chat. Antiquities of the Jews or the Hebrews. Antiquities of the Jews or the Hebrews. And it's book 20, chapter 7, sub chapter 2. Okay? Hopefully everybody got that. Felix is made procurator of Judea, as also concerning Agrippa Jr. and his sisters. So Claudius sent Felix, the brother of Paulus, to take care of the affairs of Judea. And when he had already completed the 12th year of his reign, he bestowed upon Agrippa the tetrarchy of Philip and Batanea, and added thereto Trachonitis with Abila, which last had been the tetrarchy of Lysanias. But he took from him Chalcis, when he had been governor thereof 4 years. And when Agrippa had received these countries as a gift of Caesar, he gave his sister Drusilla in marriage to Azizus, king of Amasa, upon his consent to be circumcised. For Epiphanes, the son of King Antiochus, had refused to marry her, because after he had promised her father formally to come over to the religion of the Yahudi, he would not now perform that promise. He also gave Miriam in marriage to Archelaus, the son of Helcias, to whom she had formerly been betrothed by Agrippa, her father, from which marriage was derived a daughter whose name was Bernice. Just put that in there. But for the marriage of Drusilla with Azizus, it was in no long time afterward dissolved upon the following occasion. While Felix was procurator of Judea, he saw this Drusilla and fell in love with her, for she did indeed exceed all other women in beauty. And he sent to her a person whose name was Simon, one of his friends. A Jew he was, and by birth a Cypriot, and one who pretended to be a magician. And I'll get into that in a minute. And endeavored to persuade her to forsake her present husband and marry him, and promised that if she would not refuse him, he would make her a happy woman. Accordingly, she acted ill, and because she was desirous to avoid her sister Bernice's envy, for she was very ill treated by her on account of her beauty, was prevailed upon to transgress the laws of her forefathers and to marry Felix. And when he had a son by her, he named him Agrippa. But after what manner that young man with his wife perished at the conflagration of the mountain Vesuvius in the days of Titus Caesar shall be related hereafter. All right, I'm going to stop right there. Again, Antiquities of the Hebrews, Book 20, Chapter 7, Subchapter 2. All right, so now we got a situation. We have an external historical reference to a man named Simon who was also thought to be believed to be a magician. So what they did, they know who he is. They know what happened. When you say, that he was believed to be, supposed to be a magician, right? That's a derogative statement that they're making against this person. Okay. So people knew about this dude, basically is what it comes down to. So it's very interesting that the Apostle Paul, known to the Greco-Roman world, is known as Paul. But in the Hebrew Israelite world, he's known as Simon the magician. And we actually have a Simon the magician who we got in the Bible now, y'all. In the book of Acts, we got in the Bible, Paul is talking with Felix. Both Felix and Drusilla, all them folks is mentioned in the book of Acts. It talks about how the governor Felix called Paul and was having dialogue and discussion with him. This is apparently something they were doing on a regular basis. In a totally extra biblical text, Josephus is talking about how Felix sent Simon the magician to go talk to Drusilla to have her basically go rogue and marry Felix. Hey, Simon, I'm going to send you, you're a Jew. I'm going to convince you to go talk to old girl for me. It's deep. Something to think about. All right. Question for y'all. Should I continue or should I stop and hold for next time? I'm gonna leave it up to y'all. I'm at a good stopping point. I'm waiting on y'all. I will continue a little bit and then I'll stop. So we got to talk about Simon Magus. So let me go ahead and get my stuff up. All right. So first and foremost, there's my email address right there, dharris@HebrewConnect.com. My ministry is Biblical Hebrew Awakening. This is the ministry that I was given to by the Most High Yah. I've created 2 social networking platforms. You got HebrewConnect and HebrewConnect TV. If you're going on the web on a desktop or you want to use the mobile web for some reason, you can go to HebrewConnect.com or you can go to HebrewConnect.tv. And you're looking at a social networking platform and a video content sharing platform. This is for Israel. It's for you to use. If you don't use it, trust. These heathens are trying to get on there every day. So it's important for us to invest in our own community, our own products and services. These are my email addresses. You can email me at ministry@HebrewConnect.com if you are a fellow brother or sister in ministry and you want to collaborate or connect, get to know one another. You can reach me out there. If you have a prayer request, you can go to prayer@HebrewConnect.com and we will pray for you. If you just have general questions and informational questions, you can email me there. Those are the websites you can go to. You can go to HebrewConnect.org.com or .tv. Many of you have been trying to set up groups on HebrewConnect.org. Stop it. Go on HebrewConnect.com and create a group or page and go there. While HebrewConnect.org has the ability of establishing certain groups, it's just not robust enough to do what needs to be done. So just go on HebrewConnect.com and start a group there. All right. There are mobile apps available. We have HebrewConnect for Android, specifically designed for Android version 13, but it will work as low as version 5 in some cases. But if your phone is just ancient, just get a new phone. All right. That's what it looks like, and you can do a whole lot of cool stuff on there. So check it out. To get it, go to the Google Play Store and search for HebrewConnect, and you will see the link there. We also have the video sharing platform. Okay. Again, HebrewConnect TV. And same thing. Go to the Google Play Store and hit HebrewConnect TV for search. It'll pop up. All right. Hebrews in Tech, get certified. Hebrews in Tech. Shout out to class 2301. You guys are a blessing. I look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow. We got a lot of work to do. We got, I want to say, 2 more classes left. So tomorrow, and then a Wednesday study group, and then that last class the following Sunday on the 30th. So I'm looking forward to getting with you guys. Those of you that are looking to get into the next class, just send me an email at the below getcertified@HebrewConnect.com, and myself or somebody will reach out to you in regards to getting you prepared for that. All right. This is Torah Foundation Studies. We are actually live on both HebrewConnect and YouTube. So, or HebrewConnect TV and on YouTube. Okay. We're building that foundation. We got to really look at it. You know what I'm saying? Not no fantasies. See what's going on. Over this lesson, we've gone over Trinitarianism. We went over modalism and monarchism. We went over Unitarianism. I'm going fast because we've already gone over this stuff. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, go watch those previous lessons and also look up those words for yourself so you understand what folks is out here believing. All right. Don't be led astray by folks that are in one of these camps. Don't be led astray. All right. Council of Nicaea. Okay. We talked about that a little bit in depth. And this is talking about grace alone versus obedience to Torah and grace. The reality is the disciples of Mashiach believed in the obedience to Torah and the grace that comes through Yahushua Mashiach, whereas Paul's doctrine was grace alone. We talked about Marcion being a disciple of Paul. I don't know why that's showing, but I'm going to get rid of that. Keep going. All right. We talked also briefly about, again, contention of the faith, Marcionism versus Catholicism. So, recap. Marcionism is the root of the epistles and the doctrine of Paul. It was successful for many, many, many years. Ultimately, though, Catholicism won out. But what Catholicism did was it hijacked Marcionism like it hijacks everything else and absorbed aspects of Marcionism within itself. The difference between Catholicism and Marcionism is that Marcionism believed that there was a higher unknown God, a God that was greater than the creator God, and that is who Yahusha or Jesus Christ came to connect us and save us from the original God of the Old Testament. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you missed out. So go back over those lessons. All right. Marcionism believed that there was a higher God than the God of creation in the Old Testament. Marcionism believed that Jesus Christ was the son of the highest God than the God that created everything in the beginning. And therefore, Jesus Christ, or Yahushua HaMashiach, came to save mankind from the God of the Old Testament. Catholicism didn't believe that. While it believed everything else about Marcionism, and as it relates to faith, grace, right? It did not believe that there was two separate gods from the Old Testament God to this new unknown God who's above everything. And therefore, Catholicism merged concepts and ideas and understandings about grace and the functions and things and the structure that Paul had that rooted in Marcionism. It took all that, but it held the true belief that the God of the Old Testament and the God of the New Testament are the same God, just expressed differently in the person of Jesus Christ and Yahushua HaMashiach. That being said, if you look at most Catholic parishes, if you look at most Protestant churches, if you look at most Anglican churches, if you look at most churches today, they're essentially a variant of Marcionism because they never really crack open the Old Testament. They don't really talk about the Old Testament God. They talk about Jesus Christ and Paul more than Jesus Christ. So let's keep going. Clementine homilies, Apostle Peter to the Apostle James. I'm willing to go through this with y'all right now. Let's go through this, and this is going to be a highlight snippet. This is like this is dessert for y'all. Okay, this is like the cream and the cherry on top of today's lesson, and then we're gonna get up out of here. All right. So there were two different versions of this, but I'm just going to go with the Clementine homilies right now. There's two different versions of the same work that are pulling from the same source, just different variations of it. And this is more of a Hebrew Nazarene writing. Okay, so this is writing from a Hebrew perspective, not a Greco-Roman perspective. And that's also the reason why they're referring to the Apostle Paul as Simon Magus and not, or Simon the magician and not the Apostle Paul. So let's keep going. All right, so this is the epistle of Peter to James. All right, Peter to James, the Lord or Adonai, master and bishop of the Holy Church or the assembly. Again, you already know the Catholic Church got hold of this. So that's what they call the Holy Church, right? Bishop of the Holy Assembly under the Father of all, through Jesus Christ, Yahushua HaMashiach, which is peace always. Knowing, my brother, your eager desire after that which is for the advantage of us all, I beg and beseech you not to communicate to or preach to any one of the Gentiles the books of my preachings which I sent to you, nor to any one of our own tribe before trial, testing. But if anyone has been proved and found worthy, then to commit them to him, after the manner in which Moses delivered his books to the 70 who succeeded to his chair. All right, so Peter's telling James, hey, don't be giving my stuff out to everybody. I'm seeing some things, right? Wherefore also the fruit of that caution, the reason for my caution, appears even till now. For his countrymen keep the same rule of monarchy and polity everywhere, being unable in any way to think otherwise or to be led out the way of the much indicating scriptures. For according to the rule delivered to them, they endeavor to correct the discordances of the scripture. If anyone, haply not knowing the traditions, is confounded at the various utterances of the prophets, wherefore they charge no one to teach, unless he has first learned how the scriptures must be used, and thus they have amongst them one God, one law, one hope. He's basically saying that you already know how we get down. Like you just can't be out here teaching. Like right now, you got folks right now that they got a laptop, a webcam, a microphone, and a Bible, and they just running with it. And maybe they don't feel confident saying I'm a teacher of the scriptures. I'm a teacher, or I just want to, share what I found. And then maybe they get 500 subscribers or 1,000 subscribers, and now they're the Grand Deacon Bishop Moray of YouTube sphere, right? It's like, don't do that. If you don't really fully know what you're talking about, don't be out here teaching, right? So wherefore they charge no one to teach unless he has first learned how the scriptures must be used, and thus they have amongst them one God, one law, one hope. Moving forward. In order, therefore, that the like may also happen to those among us as to these 70, give the books of my preaching to our brethren with the like mystery of initiation, that they may indoctrinate those who wish to take part in teaching. For if it be not so done, our word of truth will be rent into many opinions. Meaning, if we don't test and prepare and go through a process, okay, in regards to giving this teaching and this word out, right, then you're going to have like 50 different opinions on what I was really talking about. He goes on to say, and this I know, not as being a prophet, but as already seen the beginnings of this very evil. For some from among the Gentiles have rejected my preaching Torah, attaching themselves to certain lawless and trifling preaching of the man who is my enemy. And these things some have attempted while I'm still alive to transform my words by certain various interpretations in order to the dissolution of the law, the Torah, as though I myself were of such mind, but did not freely proclaim it, which God forbid. For such a thing were to act in opposition to the law of Oluwa, which was spoken by Moses and was borne witness to by Adonai in respect of its eternal continuance. For thus he spoke, the heavens and the earth shall pass away, but one jot nor one tittle shall no wise pass from the law. All right, keep going. And this, okay, hold on a second. Oh, hold on. All right, and this he has said, that all things might come to pass, but these men, professing I know not how, to know my mind, undertake to explain my words which they have heard of me more intelligently than I who spoke them, telling their catechumens that this is my meaning, which indeed I never thought of. But if while I am still alive they dare thus to misrepresent me, how much more will those who shall come after me dare to do so? If they're willing to do this while I'm still alive, what's going to happen when I'm dead? Therefore, that no such thing may happen, for this end I have prayed and besought you not to communicate the books of my preaching, which I have sent you to anyone, whether of our own nation or of another nation, before testing or trial. But if anyone having been tested has been found worthy, then to hand them over to him, according to the initiation of Moses, by which he delivered his books to the 70 who succeeded to his chair, in order that thus they may keep the faith and everywhere deliver the rule of truth, explaining all things after our tradition, lest being themselves dragged down by ignorance, being drawn into error by conjectures after the mind, they bring others into the like pit of destruction. Now the things that seem good to me I have fairly pointed out to you, and what seems good to you, do you, my Lord, becomingly perform. Farewell. All right, so let's keep going. Simon Magus being the Apostle Paul versus the Apostle Peter. What you're going to find is that the doctrine of Simon Magus is very much in line with that of the thinking and the mindset of Apostle Paul. So you're going to see some familiarity here in a minute. I will next time go through a more full breakdown of this exchange. But we're going to just, for time's sake, jump into this. This is, again, the Homilies, chapter 13. All right. And this is in regards to the evidence of the senses contrasted with that from supernatural vision. All right. So Simon, on hearing this, interrupted him being Simon Peter, and said, I know against whom you are making these remarks, but in order that I may not spend any time in discussing subjects which I do not wish to discuss, repeating the same statements to refute you, reply to that which is concisely stated by us. You profess that you had well understood the doctrines and deeds of your teacher, because you saw them before you with your own eyes and heard them with your own ears, and that it is not possible for any other to have anything similar by vision or apparition. But I shall show that this is false. He who hears anyone with his own ears is not altogether fully assured of the truth of what is said, for his mind has to consider whether he is wrong or not. Inasmuch as he is a man as far as appearance goes, but apparition not merely presents an object to view, but inspires him who sees it with confidence, for it comes from God, or Oluwa. Now reply first to this. If then our Jesus appeared to you in a vision, right? I'm gonna get to this. So we're moving ahead to chapter 19, right? If then our Jesus appeared to you in a vision, this is basically Peter's response to Simon the magician. If then our Jesus appeared to you in a vision, made himself known to you, and spoke to you, it was as one who is enraged with an adversary. And this is the reason why it was through visions and dreams, or through revelations that were from without, that he spoke to you. But can anyone be rendered fit for instruction through apparitions? And if you will say it is possible, then I ask, why did our teacher abide in discourse a whole year to those who were awake? And how are we to believe your word when you tell us that he appeared to you? And how did he appear to you? And when you entertain opinions contrary to his teachings? So it's like, how are we to believe your word when you tell us that he appeared to you? And how did he appear to you when you entertain opinions contrary to his teaching? But if you were seen and taught by him, and became his apostle for a single hour, proclaim his utterances, interpret his sayings, love his apostles, contend not with me who companied with him, for in direct opposition to me, who am a firm rock, the foundation of the church, you now stand. If you were not opposed to me, you would not accuse me and revile the truth proclaimed by me, in order that I may not be believed when I state what I myself have heard with my own ears from the Lord, as if it were evidently a person that was condemned and in bad repute. But if you say that I am condemned, you bring an accusation against Oluwa, who revealed the Christ to me, and you envy against him who pronounced me blessed on account of the revelation. But if indeed you really wish to work in the cause of truth, learn first of all from us what we have learned from him and becoming a disciple of the truth, become a fellow worker with us. So I'm going to stop right there. I think that's good. A good stopping point. I think that's a good stopping point. There's much to go into. And what I want to do is, it's going to be lengthy, but I'm all about context. I wanted to give you a little snippet of the back and forth between this Simon the magician and the Apostle Paul, or Simon the magician, Apostle Paul versus Simon Peter, right? I don't believe that everything written in that narrative, in the full narrative, is completely true. But most all things are rooted in truth. And again, ultimately what it comes down to is, when you're looking for the Hebrew Paul, you're going to find Simon the magician. Simon the magician is everywhere, 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 everywhere. Even in extra biblical texts, you can find Simon the magician. Very rarely can you find the Greco-Roman Paul. You find the Greco-Roman Paul in the epistles and in the Acts of Paul, basically is what it should be called. But from the Hebraic perspective, everything's about Simon the magician. And so you have a battle going back and forth in which you have you got Peter going, if Mashiach did appear to you, it likely was just to basically roast you and to be your adversary because you out here in these streets tripping. And again, how are you, even if you were an apostle for 1 hour, how are you going to be basically speaking against me, who actually accompanied him and ate with him and learned from the man himself? You don't know the real man. You weren't even around. You know, from apparitions and revelations. So this is challenging information to kind of see. We got to get through this. What I will say is that ultimately, this information should let you know that you don't know as much as you think you know. And we have to look at everything in the context of the reality that we are sitting here on Struggle Life in 2023. Okay. There's some things that we need to seek the Most High for. That means you need to get on your face and seek Yah, because a lot of the things that you are likely dealing with are the traditions of men. You grew up in these traditions and don't even know where these traditions came from. And again, like I said, like, it's crazy. A lot of people, they're angry. A lot of Protestants are like, they have a disdain and a hatred for the Catholic Church. But it's like all y'all, in regards to the Protestants and the Catholic Church, have their root in Pauline Christianity. And the only thing they did differently was they still believe in Marcionism. They just believe that the God of the Old Testament and the New Testament are the same, whereas the original doctrine was that they were different. That was the original doctrine. But what won out? Catholicism won out, and so therefore, the modern interpretation of modern Christianity is that the God of the Old Testament and the God of the New Testament are the same person. Whereas originally, from the followers of Paul, they basically were like anti-Yahudi, anti-Torah, anti-law, statutes, and commandments. And the reason being, again, Paul was still going to the northern kingdom Israelites, although he would convert anybody if you can catch the Holy Ghost, right? But it was a situation where he had his own gospel. He had his own doctrine. he knew the scriptures, and he knew them very well. And he pulled from Wisdom of Solomon. He pulled from the Septuagint, various places. So he knew what he was talking about. You know what I mean? But he still leans to his own understanding because, again, in his mind, if you think it's all going to burn down in a month or a year or 2 years or 3 years or 5 years, you ain't thinking, hell, even if you thought 10 years, okay, you ain't thinking 2,000 years. They thought like this. If you want to see the progression of Paul's mindset, go read First Thessalonians and Second Thessalonians, and then go back over to like Galatians and go through Ephesians and Romans and all that kind of stuff. You'll find that Thessalonians, First, Second Thessalonians, was a different type of writing. It wasn't anti-Torah like the other letters were. So, lot to go through. I pray that this teaching series has been edifying and a blessing. I know it's difficult and hard to take in everything, especially when you're battling, your Pauline Christian doctrine. Like, I know many of y'all don't recognize that a lot of the traditions you have and grew up on and are still near and dear to your heart come from Paul. They come from the imagination of Paul. And I'm not even saying they're wrong, but it's coming from Paul. It's coming from Paul. But like I said at the very beginning, we don't know anything. And the more you learn and understand, the more you will greater embrace the fact that we don't know nothing. Stay away from a haughty, prideful, arrogant man or woman that think they know everything. And they walking on cloud 19. They got it all figured out. They do not. We don't know nothing. We are led by the Spirit of the Most High Yah. We have information and revelation and things like that. But the bottom line is that we're looking at textbooks and chronicles and scrolls and stuff that people have truly had no chill and adding and taking things away from. Okay. There's a truth that one day we will fully see and get the revelation on. But until that day comes, as we bring this stuff out and you see the truth beyond the fantasy and the lie, it should drive you to your knees and to seek the Most High. When you get up off of here, you should reflect, Paul, Selah, and get on your face and ask the Most High to guide you in regards to what all this really means. What are we supposed to be doing right now? Okay? Because we need to seek the Most High in regards to what we're supposed to be doing. I know the key thing is we're supposed to be repenting and we're supposed to be coming together in righteousness. I know that from the top down, top to bottom, the righteousness and the righteous within Israel need to stand up. I don't care where you are in the diaspora. You need to rise up, stand up, and walk out these law, statutes, and commandments. And then again, we also have to recognize that we're not going to always be able to do or fulfill the law, statutes, and commandments according to Torah. Why? Because we don't know who we are. Let that sink in. We don't know who we are. It's beyond the fact of not having a temple. We can make a new tabernacle and be like, all right, here we go. We don't have a priesthood. Some of y'all are descendants of the royal priesthood. But you don't know that. I don't know that. We wouldn't even know where to start. Although I will say in the book of Antiquities of the Hebrews, Josephus, if we ever did have to like reinstate a physical priesthood, man, Josephus laid that thing out something fierce. He was a Levite for real. He broke that thing down. If you ever want to know what they was doing back in the day, I think I'll pray about it, but I think we will definitely go over Antiquities of the Hebrews and go over just how the priesthood was laid out. It's just magical. And I know that's a funny word for some people. They're like, oh, magic. I don't mean like magic like that. I'm just saying it's just like wondrous. It's just all inspiring when you look and you read the words of how Josephus describes everything from the clothes the priesthood wore, the layout of the temple, how they even did the sacrifices. You'll be like, man, it's amazing. Like it really is like it's on level 10 detail. 1 out of 10, it's on level 10 detail in regards to what the priest did. It's very like when you read it or hear it, you'll be amazed. So we might go into all that. But the bottom line is we don't know who's a part of the priesthood. So therefore, we can't even emulate or do many of the things that will be required in the Torah to do. The things we can do is the 10 Commandments. And that should be enough for right now. You know what I'm saying? When it comes to the feast days, we commemorate the feast days, right? Some of y'all might want to go ahead and butcher a lamb, right? I have no problem with you butchering a lamb and you eating the lamb and the food, whatever like that. But if you basically cosplaying a Hebrew Israelite priest, okay, and you trying to like, don't do that. Don't play them games. Some of y'all play them games, and I don't agree with that. You know what I'm saying? Don't do that. But we definitely need to come together as a people and seek the Most High, because the reality is, I don't like it myself. We are reactionary as a people. We are reactionary to what happens to the house of Israel. All right. And then you got those that in every generation, you know, like, come on now. Like, I'm an older person. Y'all, some of y'all are older. We got youngins that are basically, let's keep it real. They wild the hell out. And they was born in 2003. Hello? Think about that. You got these new school cats that was born in 2003 cutting the hell up. So, you know what I mean? We got some work to do. We got some work to do as a people. And I will say this. I thought about whether to say this or not. And I'm going to take time to do it right now. I'll be all right. And I'm going to get out of here. I saw something. I'm going to share it real quick. I got to upload it to, I'm going to upload it real quick. So I'm going to speak to this real quick. It'll be about. The switch or not. Nothing matters. Let's see. Upload. Image. Recent. Right there. All right. So I saw something. I'm gonna play it real quick. I think I am. I don't know if I can find it or not, but if I can, I will. It's dumb. So I will say this right now. There's some plotting and some planning going on right now. Our enemies, and we got to be aware of that. All right. dumb. I hate this thing. That's real talk. Hang tight with me, please. Hmm. I appreciate your patience, but this is important, and I want to make sure I get this right. So, yeah. All right. So, on one hand, I'm dealing with this issue. Okay. Let me share my screen. All right. So, how many of y'all heard about the Walmart's closing in Chicago? It's like 4 major Walmarts that are closing, and there's more closing too, but it was 4 that were closing in Chicago. And it's because of all the looting and stealing and acting stupid by primarily our people. We ain't the only ones acting stupid in these streets, but in Chicago, it's us. Okay. I don't care about politics. Most of y'all Democrat. I understand that because black folks, Hebrews. I'm gonna call y'all black folks. Black folks is Democrats. Okay. We drank the Kool-Aid for the past 40 years and got nothing for it. But a crutch that ain't been helping out. Instead of us taking accountability and doing the difficult things that we all know we should do, okay, we want to blame other people. I'm not for that. I ain't the one for that. Don't come to me for that with that junk. But and I'll spend some time going through this real quick. But yeah, the bottom line is that all over this country, there's been a lot of looting, flash mob break-ins, thuggery. I'm trying to use my words nicely. Okay, just keep it simple. Okay, and yet the politicians that we have placed in power foolishly are doing us a disservice. We won't. I know some of us won't like it. Y'all don't like it when I do it. Okay. We don't want to be we don't want accountability. We don't want to take accountability for ourselves. And we hate when we try to hold each other accountable. So it's easier to lie to ourselves. Meanwhile, our conditions never change and we live a life of destruction year after year. It's 2023 and we got this stuff going on right now. Like, come on, man. We got something got changed. Let me play it. So I'll stop rambling.
Oh, we have ravaged our community. Yeah. And we have ravaged our community. Yeah. And Walmart, you should be absolutely ashamed of yourself. You are the reason that our communities lack the investment that they have. We should not have to go out of our communities to find jobs. We should not have to go out of our communities to get medicine. We should not go out of our communities to be able to shop. We should be able to do all of this in our community.
Right here.
We deserve. We deserve.
And we deserve
to be able to shop.
Yes, sir.
Work.
Yes.
Play.
Yes.
In our own community.
In agreement.
Oh, we have ravaged our community.
So Fam. It's difficult. It's seriously difficult dealing with this. It's gonna be 100. I'm gonna share my screen. This is what was happening in Chicago. And why Walmart said, all right, bet. I gotta make sure you guys see my screen too. Hold on a second. Hold on a moment here. Yep. Y'all should be able to see this and hear this, so we'll see. I'm done. I don't condone cursing, nothing crazy and stuff like that, but I'm a realist. We up in this life for real. This is some struggle life. So I understand. So I'm not high and holy. That is real life. Get your kids. Get your kids. Don't make no excuses. Get your kids and get them right. Get your children. Okay? Across the land. There's an attempt to make everything be like just black folks out here doing this crazy stuff. And we are in some places, right? But I also saw, like in California, it was a bunch of Mexicans that was out there looting in Compton. And folks automatically want to say black folks was out here doing the most in Compton, and it wasn't us. It was Mexicans. You go look at the video footage, it was Mexicanos that was out there doing the most. All right. So it's not just a Hebrew Israelite thing, a black thing, or something like that. This nation has fell into complete and utter lawlessness, and it's by design. And the mental health of this country is not good in America. There's a whole lot going on. Get your kids, and you better get in the law, statutes, and commandments. You better seek the Most High. You better find some righteous men and women to connect with, and stop having one foot in and one foot out in this walk and awakening. I will tell you, I've been so disappointed in the house of Israel across the board on many different levels, because the majority of y'all are fake as hell. The majority of y'all got one foot in and one foot out in this walk. You're a digital Hebrew, and then you got a whole alternate lifestyle at home in your house or when you're in these streets. And you know I'm telling the truth. Whether you like it or not, it's the reals. Y'all, most of y'all are fake. Most of y'all aren't praying. Most of y'all aren't reading your word like that. You might learn a little something or know a little something. You might dabble and watch a video or something like that. You might be able to regurgitate something you saw on the video. Half y'all probably can't even comprehend what the hell I was talking about today, and won't even pick it up to review it and go over what we just went through today. And we'll just move on and be like, where's the next video at? We got to do better across the board. We got to do better across the board. We have to, as older people, elders within our community that still got some life and vitality left into us, we got to go after our children and get them off the block and the street corner and looting and robbing. Like, they ain't young people robbing and schmobbing. That's grown people and old people mobbing and robbing over there. What's happening right now, you know, those of us that saw what was going on during the pandemic and saw how the government was moving, it was like, this don't look right. What don't look right? The government start handing out free checks. Stimulus money. And then on top of that, they sent like $100 billion to Ukraine, money we don't got. That part. And we already went through literally 2 years of lockdowns and so many deaths that took place. Most of it was medical negligence. And we're like, the dollar's over. This economy is going to collapse. It's a wrap. Anybody that got any common sense about finances know you cannot print your way out of debt. You cannot print your way out of money. Like, to sit there and be like, okay, raise the debt ceiling. Raise the debt ceiling. Raise the debt ceiling. So now the US dollar economy is no longer a matter of checks and balances and budgeting. It's basically, we've extended ourselves on our credit to the max. So our only option is not to cut back on spending. It's not to curb certain programs. It's just to print more money. They know this thing is going to fall and collapse, and they're doing things to forward the affliction of the economy to collapse. So if you got ninjas out here doing this over some Walmart jank, the lawlessness. Listen, if you were in California, that's not the place you want to be at. If you were in Chicago, Illinois, or Illinois, period, that likely ain't the place you want to be at for a long term. You might want to look at an exit strategy. Whether you pull the trigger on it or not, or then you got to be slow and reactionary and then figure out what we're going to do. You better figure something out. If you're in any of these areas of the country where it's lawlessness, you might want to get out, because the reality is you're going to get cut off. That's what I see. Now, if you don't agree with that, you can say, I don't receive that. But I'm telling you, like, I got family in California. We don't want to be there. at all. If not, no. The reality is, in these lawless states, these states that are lawless and crime. Okay, so keep it simple. I'm gonna keep it super simple. For those of us that grew up in the late 70s, the early 80s, it's the 80s period, and the 90s, and you went to public school, that same situation and feeling you had in public school where it was like you were on your own. Like if you got into a fight at school, and there was nobody gonna save you. There was no hall monitor to come and break it up. You feel me? There was nobody to intervene. You basically had to survive by your own wits and wisdom and discernment. Those of you that grew up in the late 70s, the 80s, and the early 90s should know what I'm talking about. If you went to public school, depending on where you went, what type of school it was, especially if you went in the hood, you understand and recognize that, all right, I'm on my own out here. Okay, because it's fast forwarded to this day that in public school system, if there's an altercation on campus, they will scrape you off the floor and rush you to the hospital maybe after the fact. But in the moment, nobody is coming to save you. No one's coming to rescue you. You got students beating up the teachers. Nobody's coming to save you. The same level of lawlessness that's in these schools is spilling over into society. There's no law and order. The law enforcement of this land, the police of this land are only there to enforce the government rule. Meaning, if you go to a PTA meeting and you cut up, they will drag you off, whether you right or wrong, whether it's your constitutional right or anything. They're going to drag you off, threaten to imprison you, and throw you in jail because you up there angry talking about you and this LGBT jank in my schools. And my daughter and my son in these schools, you teach my child to be a pervert. They'll send the police on you then, and the police will have no problem billy clubbing yourself out of existence. But let it be your personal property. Let it be your personal life. Nobody care. You getting robbed? Nobody cares. They're only going to be there to enforce certain laws and rules that apply to the power structure. Do what I say, because that's the agenda we want to push. Outside of that, how is it that there was no law enforcement to stop that? Why is it the people had no internal compass within themselves to be like, we're not going to be out here looting and thugging like that? That's full-blown lawlessness and looting. And so now, I'm holding my tongue. Black folks are going to learn, right? Black folks in Chicago going to learn. That's why you ain't got no stores. Target's going to be gone. Walmart is gone. They're why am I going to invest millions of dollars in infrastructure and risk the lives of my employees and logistics to go to some ninjas out here robbing and thugging and destroying the store like that? Bet. I hope you got a garden and can farm. It's a situation like that. These areas where it's complete lawlessness, you're going to be cut off. Like, I'm not trying to curse nobody, but if you live in an area of lawlessness, you might want to move. If you slow and you decide I'm going to just stay and wait it out, but you're not even doing nothing to make a change in your community to transform the culture of the people, our people specifically, to being people of proper character and integrity, you ain't gonna make it. They're leaving. They've already shut down 4. And then some of the locations for Walmart specifically in Illinois, some of the locations that other people, because guess what? You got to find a new job, right? What did they end up doing? They put in to go to another job, another Walmart location. Guess what happened? That location is getting shut down too. They're slowly pulling out from these areas, and it's basically what's happening is this. Everyone on the top, in the middle, or got some discernment sees what's going on. So you're seeing a contraction of the economy. You're seeing a contraction of, so before everything was spread out. Now everything is contracting back in. All these areas of lawlessness are about to get cut off. Do you think they really care about the people? They care about making money. So there is, it's not viable for them to continue when we are doing that to stores like that. So guess what? You're not going to have no store like that. But what about the old folks that need to go to the pharmacy and they ain't trying to go 30 miles out to go get the prescription? Now they're stuck. But I'm going to close out with this piece right here. Let me go ahead and get to it, because this is what I want to show y'all. I was in Seattle the other day. And let's keep it 100. Look at what I saw. Look at what I saw that was worthy for me to go ahead and snap a picture. It's a beautiful store location when you look at the whole thing. Look at what I saw. Israel should be ashamed. Israel should be fully ashamed of themselves in America. Because do you see Asians complaining about what they have and don't have? Do you think these Asians are going to have a problem if Walmart shuts down, or if Rayleigh's or Safeway shuts down? They got this people. Listen, that says Asian Family Market. Do you understand? I pray the Most High brings about a profound revelation to you. Do you see what that says? Asian Family Market. Oh my goodness. They not tripping if a Walmart closed down or if a grocery store shut down. They got their own Asian Family Market. How come we don't walk around and got Hebrew family markets throughout the country? And I don't want to hear no excuses. Oh, well, slavery, the white man. Why do we not have an Asian family market for us? Why is it that when things happen, like happened in Chicago, and Walmart said, all right, bet, we're shutting down darn near all the Walmarts in Illinois. We're going to let them fall like Legos and just be like, oh, gone. Starve. Since y'all want to cut up and steal and rob from us, starve. And yet you got these folks, even though there's a Rayleigh's, there's a Albertsons, there's a Lucky's, there's a Family Dollar, Food Lion, General, whatever, right? Dollar Tree, all these. Why are they able to go ahead and have an Asian family market? They don't got no discount dollar grocery store. They got a full-blown, fully functioning, it says Asian Family Market. Get your every needs you need right there. And guess where all that money's going to? The Asian family. But we got ninjas standing up there with a suit and tie on, blaming Walmart. Walmart, you should be ashamed of yourselves. You're to blame. Why has not one single black politician got up to the podium and said, we need to repent? Why has not one political leader from the black community said, my people, we need to humble ourselves and pray? Why haven't they said we need to fast? We need to go on a 30-day fast. I'm calling a fast for the entire nation to fast. Why have we not done that? Why have we gotten so comfortable running to the next master while never taking accountability for our life and our people, our nation? Why are your children running in the doggone street reckless? Your children. Why is it that I'm sitting here, I'm with y'all. I'm like, oh, well, where's your sons and daughters at? Crickets. Apparently they're in the street looting and banging out cars and setting stuff on fire and acting like ninjas in the street. Where are your children at? Why are your children not? What's going on? We cannot revert to lawlessness in the hour of our awakening. I'm going to say that. We cannot revert to lawlessness in the hour of our awakening. And y'all got to make a determination. Do you want to have one foot in and one foot out till you die and take your last breath? Or do you really want to walk this thing out? That's a serious question. What are y'all trying to do? Because real talk, when I look at the scope of my ministry, when I look at the past 6-7 years, the reality is the majority of y'all got one foot in and one foot out. You're fake. And I'm bold enough to tell you, because I love you enough to tell you to your face, you fake. You a digital Hebrew. You a Hebrew in name only. It's like, because you can tell, number one, it's like I've seen some of y'all backslide hard backsliding. I've seen people come. I've seen people go. I've seen people put up a front like they're a certain way and they're not. I had somebody, and I mentioned it before, I have somebody that tried to join my assembly, one of my assemblies, and we tried to kind of vet them out and see where their head was at, whatever. And they turned out they were a Facebook moderator, like an actual, they work for Facebook. And they will be the kind of folks that would like audit and flag content and stuff like that. That's what, and it was a system. It was a system. And I don't know, she was auditing a bunch of Hebrew Israelite channels or platforms or groups or whatever. And then she felt convicted and was like, I think I am a Hebrew. And then, but she had one foot in, one foot out. Next thing I know, I'm, trying to engage with this person responsibly and appropriately. And then I'm seeing your Facebook account. Why are you talking about being butt naked, smoking a blunt, and having sex? Daughter of Zion. Ruh-roh. I'm not speaking about everybody, but I'll sit there and I make my platform available to the house of Israel, especially when there was a real strong need for it, for this platform. Y'all come up on here and you can fellowship with me, right? You can fellowship with me and I'll interact with you. You guys get a chance to interact with each other. And then over time, even though I'm pushing out certain emails and it's something like there's a, I don't know, let's just say 1,100, 1,200. It could be more if I wanted to, but it's like 1,100 people that are faithfully following my ministry on a regular basis. And they're, getting emails tapped in, whatever the case might be. And then over time, I'm pushing out information and content, and the number drops from 1,200 to 1,150, 1,150 to 1,100, 1,100 to 1,000. Just keep it right there, realistically, right? But then I get folks complaining, I'm not getting no emails. Well, you're not responding to the emails that are sent out, and you're not engaging. Those of you that get on the platform with me here on the Zoom calls, when I was doing the Zoom calls like that, over time, half y'all don't want to speak or show your face. You want to do what you're doing right now, but in my presence on my platform. So I'll literally be sitting here. There might be, I don't know, 30 folks up on here, 30, 40 folks that are literally on here on the Zoom call. And y'all will see maybe 6 or 7 that are actually at least showing their face out of respect and engaging to some extent. And then there's another 32 of y'all that are just MIA. What's shifting in your personal life that we're moving like this? So I talked to y'all about it. Why? Like, there was some other stuff that was going on technology-wise while we didn't start at 2:30 Pacific Standard Time. But why are you looking at me like this and not in the big group Zoom setting move and me interacting with y'all like that? Because y'all don't care. It's like Israel for real. It's like you honor me with your words, but your heart is far from me. You speak one thing with your words, but your actions show something different. If you're doing that with me, what you doing with the Most High? And I can also tell by the fact that when I talk to some of y'all, I could tell you ain't praying. I could tell you not been reading your Bible. But more than anything, even if you're not reading your Bible, I can tell that you've not been reading your word by how you're moving and how you're operating. There's a lot that's going on in this world right now. There's a lot that needs to be addressed and talked about. Going back to the Apostle Paul believed in his heart that the world was ending, and it was ending imminently. He believed in his heart that it was a wrap. So therefore, the law, statutes, commandments, the Shabbat Shalom, all the feast days, abstaining from meats, and all the works and it's all gone. Yahushua HaMashiach is risen, and it's any moment now. The sky gonna crack open. The blowing of the shofar, the voice of the archangel. You know what I'm saying? And those of us that are alive will be all that stuff. It was immediate. It was a very pressing thing that he believed was happening imminently. And it wasn't, because we're still sitting here in 2023. But that's what he believed, and that's the reason why he moved the way he moved. All that revelation and understanding, if you can grasp it and comprehend it, should get you on your face to seek the Most High Yah. We know nothing. Get on your face and seek the Most High Yah. What you think you know is very much likely wrong. Seek the Most High Yah. Seek the Most High Yah. Read his word. Both the Old and the New Testament. Read the New Testament, especially Paul's letters, with a new eye of understanding. Understand that the reason why he was going rogue in some areas was because in his in his heart as a man, a natural man, he believed that it was a wrap. It don't matter. Like, who cares? It's no different than folks being like, if they think that the end of the world's going to happen in a week, they're going to be like, don't worry about paying your bills. Don't worry about your car note. Don't worry about this, that, and everything else. Do this, this, and this. And that's how Paul was moving. But you can feel if it's even, you can, when you read Second Peter, or not Second Peter, when you read Second Timothy, you feel the defeat in Paul's tone. I have run the good race. Now, let me ask you this. Why do you think, because this is part of the whole Gnostic background part, why do you think that there's a lot of Christians and Christian theology that was talking about, being absent in the bodies, being present with the Lord? Why do you think it was like, when I die, I'm going to go to heaven, and you think about angel wings and stuff? Think about that. It's because of Paul. But then you look at the book of Revelations, it says it's going to be a new heaven and a new earth, and we ain't going nowhere. It's going to be right here. So what do you believe? The concept with Paul was, when I die, I'm about to be present with Mashiach. I'm going to be chilling with him in the heavens. So you got to know what you say you believe. You got to understand the traditions of your forefathers and foremothers. You got to understand why you are where you are right now. Read the scriptures with a new eye of understanding, and get on your face and seek Yah. We don't know nothing. Don't let nobody come up here. I don't care. Listen, I don't care if I have me a 5-inch beard and I wore a white mitre and I gave myself some Grand Poobah title. I'm the Grand Poobah More, General Bishop Deacon of the House of Nazarene Set of America. Have all the seats, man. That don't mean nothing. I don't care if I have fringes that are down to my ankles. I could jump rope with my fringes. That don't make me more holy or set apart than you or anybody else. But I'm pleading with you, my people, and the fact and the reality is that stop playing games. The Most High has taken us to a place where he's showing you that you are the people. He's showing you that the scriptures is and was about the house of Israel. The real man, Yahushua HaMashiach, Jesus the Christ, came for the lost sheep of the house of Israel. Because of our disobedience and our rebellion and our lawlessness, who was out here tripping in these streets, we got discipline and we got sent and buckshot throughout the entire earth. But it wasn't to be forever. That being said, it's 2023. Get on your face with me and seek our Elohim. We got to do better than what we're doing. We can't give up. I can't give up, and you can't give up. I'm too young, yet I'm too old to give up. We can't give up. We can't give up. We got to stay in the fight for our future generations. Listen, for me, I'm talking about for me. I know that I'm not going. It's not like I'm living forever on that level like that, like in the natural earth, right? Like during this lifetime I got. We all know in part, and we all have a part to play. The Most High has thought fit for me to live and to do what I do and to be where I am today based on his will and the will only. But it might be tonight, it might be tomorrow, it might be next month, it might be next year, it might be in the next 5 or 10 years, and then I'm be doing the Wakanda forever. Okay? But until that time comes, what are we doing and what are we leaving for our children as a legacy? Because can you imagine the fact that you got these ninjas out here that were born in 2003 cutting the hell up? These little ninjas was born in 2003. 2003, y'all. Some of y'all was born in the 19s. Hello? 1950 something, 1960 something, 1970 something. You got these little ninjas out here that was born in 2003 cutting the hell up. Do you understand? They was cutting up in these streets. Lawless. Why are they lawless? Because we were lawless. Collectively. Where were we to take a stand? In spite of how we were raised and how we grew up, where were we to take a stand, and where were we to raise our children in righteousness? We don't know what we're doing. I will tell you, there's some other cultures that I feel like they got it better than we do. I've met some people that have been married and they're happily married and they're enjoying life today. And they were in an arranged marriage with their parents. Their parents arranged for them to get married. And as foreign of an idea as that to us here in America, that might be the best way to go. Is to look at all the angles and all the different things and, set something up and, do you like this person and does this person like you? And then maybe that might be a match. Look at all the situations and see if that works. Versus you on your own being foolish, running out here with Pookie and them, or a whole bunch of Pookies, and having babies with who knows who. Maybe you know who your baby daddy is or you don't. We've been out here lawless in these streets. Our marriages are trash. Most of y'all married, like I've met people that are in ministry, that straight up got trash marriages. I've met people in ministry that they're woke and their spouse isn't, whether the husband or the wife ain't. I've met folks in ministry that hide the fact that they're married to the colonizer or the daughter or the husband of a colonizer. They're doing a Phil Scott. He got busted out, so he's kind of roll with that. But before he got busted out, doing the Phil Scott. You think they also pro-Hebrew, they're pro-black, and they got Benifer in the back. I'm done, y'all. All I'll say is this. We need to seek the Most High Yah, seek his face, and stop playing. No different. It's like stop playing church. Stop playing being a Hebrew Israelite. Stop playing with 1 foot in and 1 foot out. Stop wasting your time and my time. What are we doing as a nation, as a people? Or are you just biding time till you die, or you got to be reactionary to something? Because our enemies are plotting against us. Our enemies are plotting against the house of Israel, and they're plotting against, they're playing political and geographical monopoly right now. And we're sitting here being reactionary. Those of us that got wisdom, you can see how folks are moving. I'm tired of us as a people being reactionary to what happens to us. Or we are deceived and delusional and embrace deception. Being in Pacific Northwest, what I noticed when I was dealing with and talking to a lot of our brothers and sisters, not even woke, just Hebrews here in the region. If I had to say 9 out of 10, they're either going to be in an interracial relationship or they're going to be mixed. 9 out of 10. That's one thing. A lot of confusion in the Pacific Northwest. So much so that when I saw an actual black couple, like a black husband and black wife, or black girlfriend, black husband, whatever they were, there was a black couple. I swear if I had $100 in my pocket, I would have slapped it in the brother's hand. And that dude was a comedic dude too. I still would have slapped some money in that brother's hand and be like, "Y'all bless you. Take your wife on a date. Keep that thing together." Because the miscegenation is so deep out here, it's retarded. lost move, lost big time. And so I'm sitting here, and then I'm dealing with the rest of our people. They don't identify with their blackness, the culture of being a black person in America, in the Pacific Northwest. They more identify with being LGBTQ. They elevate and hold being an LGBTQ to a higher level than being a part of the quote unquote black community. There's no black culture community out here. And some won't agree with me on that, but the proof is in the pudding. You're talking and making noise. The proof is in the pudding. When you really talk to people, they're pushing a transgender LGBTQIA agenda in the West, specifically the Pacific Northwest. So you're already behind the 8 ball when you got like 9 out of 10 folks are going to be either mixed or they're in some type of interracial relationship. And then collectively, the majority of them are on some LGBTQ jank, where they just are supportive or they're passive or whatever. It's so bad. I have it on video. I have it on video where I went to certain black community events and I'm talking to our people. I'm a Hebrew Israelite, representing being a Hebrew Israelite, but I'm just coming to talk to my people no matter where. I don't know you from nobody, so I don't know what you're doing. Even the dude that's clearly a dude. He dressed like a woman, but that's a dude. I'm gonna be respectful to everybody. I'm not a hateful dude. And I'm talking to the people, and I recorded conversations with people they had a business or whatever. And ultimately what I saw was folks was into some witchcraft jank, some open your third eyeball. They want to be a Yoruba Orisha princess or something like that, messing with runestones and crystals, and got rock altars with fruit baskets, okay, worshiping Oshun or something like that. So you got, sit down someplace. You got a lot of our people messing around in the occultic witchcraft jank, right? And then you got folks that are into some LGBTQ jank. Like ultimately what it comes up is that there's going to have to be a real awakening amongst our people. Real talk for real. Like majority of our people are complacent and lazy and don't care. You got 1 foot in this awakening and 1 foot out. Okay. It's disappointing in the utmost. I've seen people that have been on this platform with me that I've shared the platform with, and they're cool people, beautiful people, love these people. They're legit, like, man, I enjoy spending time with you. I enjoy everything. And next thing I know, I see you twirling around, showing your behind or showcasing jewelry on Instagram. Huh? Or you on TikTok looking at stuff you shouldn't be looking at. We got a lot to think about, a lot to pray about. Those of you whom the Most High has truly called in this awakening, you got work to do. I know you can't do it alone, and I'm not expecting you to do it alone. But what you have been called to do, you need to do it. And as a people, collectively, we have to repent. We need to humble ourselves and repent, because this lawlessness is not cute. Our future generations have grown up in a certain level of lawlessness and lack of accountability. And it's like it's beyond the game. There's just no accountability. It's lawlessness. Some of y'all are in trouble too, because some of y'all, I was wondering, back in the day, why am I seeing so many Dodge Hellcats ripping and running down the street? Like, I'm not no broke dude by any stretch of the imagination. I'm not like super rich, nothing like that. But I'm like, why are there so many Why are there so many folks running around here with Dodge Hellcats? And I got the revelation after seeking the Most High in prayer, because I'm like, something's going on weird. Ninjas was getting PPP loans. They didn't really qualify for it. So some of y'all are in trouble, and that's why they hired them 84,000 IRS agents. Because ninjas was out here getting PPP loans they didn't even qualify for. You want Section 8 housing, and you getting PPP loans. Talking about you got payroll to pay, and give me $35,000 or $80,000 or $50,000. I was like, how are all these young bucks running around here? You 19, 20, 22, 24, 25, and it's like dozens running around in Dodge Hellcats. Like a $90,000 car. And you like 22. And you living in your mama or in an apartment complex. Make that make sense. So you have a level of lawlessness, thuggery that's been festering within our community, and we've not checked it. We've not checked ourselves. Mama didn't check you. Your daddy, if you have one, didn't check you. Grandma or grandpa didn't check you. Your uncle or your auntie didn't check you. So we just out here living lawless. Because it's like, if, let's say it wasn't a Dodge Hellcat, it was a 7 Series BMW. When you look up and down the road and on the street and you see videos of folks smoking their tires and doing donuts in a 7 Series BMW, they doing YouTube short videos and TikToks, right? And they booty twerking on these 7 Series BMWs that cost $120,000. You're going to be like, what is going on? One lady had an interesting perspective about what was going on with all the looting and rioting and acting crazy. I'm going to play that real quick, and then I'm going to get out of here because it's just time to shut down. I'm going to see if I can play it real quick, though. Some of y'all saying you can't hear. I'll see what I can do. I don't know why you couldn't hear. I don't know. Let me see. Hold on. Y'all go ahead, click on that link and watch that if you want to hear what she was talking about. Otherwise, it's not that big of a deal. I mean, y'all hear it when you want to hear it. So we need help. That's it. So since y'all couldn't hear it, take that as a moment of silence for our people because we got problems. I can't do it by myself. I'm not dragging nobody around either. And it's like we have to take accountability for our life. That's it. All right. We have to take accountability for our future, for our children. All right. And above all, no matter what happens, I don't care. Like all this stuff could get shut down, internet shut down, wars break out, all kind of crazy stuff jump off. Trust in the Most High Yah with your whole life and your children's life, and be led by Him. That's it. We don't got it all figured out. We don't know everything, but please seek the Most High Yah. Stay away from deceptive people that want to control and manipulate you. That ain't your friend. All right. And we really need to get both feet out and do this work. We have to come together. If the Asian family market can come together to produce that for their community and even the surrounding community, because if that store was open, I could have walked into the Asian family market and got me my stuff and I've been happy and cool. But guess what? It's called the Asian family market. We got to put forth some effort. We always got our hand out waiting for somebody to come and do for us, right? What would happen if the same effort and energy we put in on Instagram and TikTok and Twitter and all these other places, we put that same effort and energy into HebrewConnect or HebrewConnect TV? The same level of creativity that we put in these other folks' platforms, we put it on our own platforms. But we don't do that. We don't do that. It's a mindset issue that has to be fixed. But how long are we going to struggle and trying to figure out how we're going to move it and move forward? We know what to do, but some of us are choosing not to do that. All that was presented today should put you on your face. Praise Yah, sing songs of praise and worship to our Elohim and the beauty of nature and all that He's provided for us, the breath of life in our lungs to this day. That same thing being said, though, we need to seek Him on how we're going to move as a people, as a nation, because it ain't looking too good. Seek the Most High Yah. All right? Seek the Most High Yah. Y'all have a good night. Be blessed. And I will, y'all willing, see y'all next week.